They did it again. Not with fireworks, not with a flawless performance, but with control, patience, and just enough separation when it mattered. The Philadelphia Eagles are NFC East champions for the second straight year, and in doing so, they slammed the door on the Dallas Cowboys' playoff hopes. It wasn't pretty, but it was definitive. And in December football, that's often all that matters. This game was a perfect snapshot of who the Eagles are right now. A team that can look uncomfortable early, miss opportunities, and still find a way to take over once the pressure tightens. Down 10-7 at halftime against a Commanders team missing its starting quarterback, Philly looked oddly out of sync. Drives stalled. Jake Elliott missed kicks. The offense lacked rhythm. Washington's defense, battered and thin all season, somehow dictated tempo early. But the second half told a very different story. Once Philadelphia leaned into its identity, physicality, patience, and field control, the game tilted fast. Saquon Barkley became the centerpiece, grinding down Washington's front with relentless runs. One carry after another, 4 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards. No panic, no forcing throws, just attrition. Barkley finished with 132 rushing yards, and those yards mattered more than any highlight reel play. They bled the clock, flipped field position, and broke Washington's resistance. Jalen Hurts didn't try to be a hero. He didn't need to be. This was one of those quarterback performances that doesn't trend on social media, but wins playoff games. Efficient, calm, no turnovers. He completed 22 of 30 passes for 185 yards and 2 touchdowns, making the right reads and keeping the offense on schedule. When the Eagles took the lead in the third quarter, you could feel the game slipping away from Washington. When the defense followed it with a takeaway, it was over. And that's the key point. This was a grown-up win. The Eagles didn't dominate from start to finish, but they dominated the moments that decide outcomes. When Washington lost Jaden Daniels and had to cycle through backup quarterbacks, Philly pounced. Pressure increased. Coverage tightened. Mistakes followed. The defense smelled blood and didn't let the game drift back into chaos. That's why this win matters beyond the standings. Clinching the NFC East guarantees Philadelphia a home playoff game. That alone is massive. January football at home is a different animal. The noise, the weather, the comfort of routine. For a team built on physicality, that advantage matters. It also makes the Eagles the first team since 2004 to repeat as NFC East champions, which in this division is no small feat. Consistency here is rare. Volatility is the norm. But this isn't a team popping champagne and calling it a season. The Eagles' broader picture is complicated. Their path to the number 1 seed is technically alive, but realistically distant. That means the real goal now shifts from chasing standings to preparing for survival football. And survival football exposes weaknesses quickly. Philadelphia still has questions to answer. The offense, while capable, has been inconsistent. There are stretches where the passing game feels disconnected, where timing is off, where explosive plays are absent. Against elite playoff defenses, that margin shrinks fast. The run game can't always be plan A. There will be games where Hurts has to win with precision in tight windows. Special teams are another concern. Missed kicks early in this game didn't cost the Eagles, but against playoff opponents, they absolutely can. January games often come down to 3 points. Clean execution there isn't optional. Discipline also matters. The late-game scuffles and ejections didn't affect this outcome, but emotional control becomes critical when the stakes rise. Penalties flip field position. One bad decision can undo 60 minutes of work. Still, the positives outweigh the doubts. This team knows how to win ugly. That's not a weakness. It's a survival skill. Not every playoff game is a shootout. Many are grinds where patience beats aggression. Philadelphia has shown it can adjust mid-game, lean on its strengths, and close without panicking. The final weeks of the regular season now become a balancing act. The Eagles have to decide how hard to push versus how much to protect. Resting everyone risks losing sharpness. Playing everyone risks injury. The smartest path is controlled intensity. Keep starters engaged, rotate wisely, and treat each snap like a rehearsal for January. Saquon Barkley's health is paramount. When he's effective, the entire offense stabilizes. Hurts thrives when he's not asked to do everything at once. The defense feeds off sustained drives that let them play fast and aggressive. Everything connects. From a league-wide perspective, Philadelphia just made life harder for everyone else in the NFC. There will be no easy path through them. They might not look like the most explosive team on paper, but they are absolutely the kind of team no one wants to face at home in a win-or-go-home scenario. And for Dallas, it's over. No miracle runs, no division collapse to save them. The Eagles ended that conversation outright. That alone carries weight in a rivalry built on decades of spite and comparison. So where does this leave Philadelphia? Confident, but not comfortable. This division title is validation, not vindication. It proves the Eagles are stable, resilient, and capable of navigating adversity. But the postseason won't care about banners or records. It will demand precision, discipline, and execution under stress. The Eagles have earned their seat at the table. What they do with it is the real test. They don't need to reinvent themselves. They need to refine, run harder, tackle cleaner, kick straighter, communicate better, do the small things that decide January football. Because repeating as NFC East champions is rare. Turning that into something bigger is even rarer, and the clock is already ticking. Eagles clinch repeat NFC East title with win over Commanders, eliminate Cowboys from playoffs, and lay on plays. It wasn't necessarily pretty on Saturday, but the Philadelphia Eagles are NFC East champions. The Eagles rallied from a 10-7 halftime deficit against a Washington Commanders team playing without starting quarterback Jaden Daniels for a 29-18 win. With the win, Philadelphia clinched the NFC East title for a second consecutive season, and it officially eliminated the Dallas Cowboys from the playoffs. The Cowboys entered Sunday with long-shot hopes of rallying to the postseason, but they needed to win their remaining 3 games and have the Eagles lose out to overtake them for the NFC East title. Saturday's Eagles win eliminated that scenario, and the 6-7-1 Cowboys don't have a path to the playoffs as a wild-card team. The Eagles, meanwhile, can celebrate a rare occurrence in the modern NFC East. They're the first team since the 2004 Eagles to repeat as NFC East champions. Eagles rally from ugly start for dominant win. A beleaguered Washington defense gave Philadelphia fits in a poor first half for the Eagles that was exacerbated by multiple missed field goal attempts from kicker Jake Elliott. And the Commanders built an early lead with backup quarterback Marcus Mariota playing for Daniels, who's shut down for the season, with Washington eliminated from the postseason. But Mariota left the third quarter with a hand injury as Washington maintained a 10-7 lead. The Eagles took a 14-10 lead on their ensuing possession and took over the game as third string Commanders quarterback Josh Johnson struggled mightily against Philadelphia's defense. Johnson threw an interception on his first possession to set up another Eagles touchdown, and the route was on. The only other notable action from there was a late-game scuffle that resulted in the ejections of Eagles guard Tyler Steen, Commanders defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, and safety Quan Martin. The late-game dramatics could set the tone for a rematch between these teams in Week 18. But they had no impact on the outcome of Saturday's game as the Eagles won comfortably despite a late touchdown from the Commanders to close the gap. Saquon Barkley continued his late-season resurgence to lead the Eagles' offense with 132 rushing yards, 6.3 YPC, and a touchdown on the ground. Jalen Hurts had an efficient effort at quarterback, completing 22 of 30 passes for 185 yards with 2 touchdowns and no turnovers. What's left for Eagles in the regular season? With the division title, the Eagles have clinched a top 4 seed in the NFC and guaranteed themselves a home game in the wild card round. They also have a long shot path to the number 1 seed in the NFC that would allow them to bypass the wild card round altogether. But Eagles fans shouldn't count on it. The now 10-5 Eagles would need to win out and have the 12-3 Seahawks lose out to have a shot at the number 1 seed, on top of other help in the playoff standings. Per Yahoo Sports playoff tracker, they have a 1% chance of doing so. So the Eagles are almost certainly locked into a 2-4 playoff seed with a first-round home game and have little to play for with remaining regular season games against the Buffalo Bills and the Commanders again. But as they face the prospect of repeating as Super Bowl champions with an offense that struggled for much of the season, the last thing they'll likely want to do is go into the playoffs cold.